Old origin and role of humanity. Then listen, Asclepius. The Lord and framer of all things, whom we rightly call God, made a God second to himself, who can be seen and apprehended by the senses. I do not call this second God susceptible to the senses on account of his being endowed with them. Whether this is so or not I shall discuss at another time, but I so call him because he is discerned by the senses of those who do see. Since God made this divine being, which was the first to issue out of himself, and was the second after himself, the sight of this being was beautiful to him, and since it was filled entirely with the goodness of everything, he loved it as a child of his own divine nature. Having such power and such goodness, he willed that there be another who could contemplate that being whom he had made for himself. Therefore, he made humankind to be an imitator of his own reason and loving care. The will of God is the greatest perfection, since willing and accomplishing are complete in the same instant of time. Thus he made human beings of his own essence. He perceived that they would not be able to love and care for all things unless he protected them with a material covering. So God sheltered them with a corporeal dwelling palace, and ordained the same for all human beings. And in just proportion he mixed and blended two natures into one. Thus God formed human beings of both spirit and body, that is, of both eternal and mortal nature, so that being thus formed, they could do justice to their twofold origin. They could wonder at and adore the celestial, while they could also care for and manage the things on earth. But in speaking of mortal things, I do not only mean earth and water, two of the four elements which nature has made subject to human beings, but also those things which humans are responsible for doing in or with these elements, the cultivation of the earth itself, pasturage, building, ports, navigation, communication, trade. All these constitute the strongest bond between human beings and between them and that part of the world which is composed of water and earth. This earthly part of the world is maintained by knowledge and practice of the arts and sciences, without which God has willed that it would not be brought to perfection. For what pleases God, necessity obeys. As effect follows will. It is not credible that what has pleased God will become displeasing to him, since he knew long before not only what would come to pass, but that it would please him. Veneration for God and care for the cosmos. But, Asclepius, I see how eagerly your quick mind hastens to hear how a man can make heaven, or what is within heaven, the object of his love and care. Then listen, Asclepius. Listen, you. To love the God of heaven and all that pertains to him is nothing but continual reverence for everything. To love the God of heaven and all that pertains to him is nothing but continual reverence for everything. Such reverence has been offered by no other creature, divine or mortal, but only by human beings. By the wonder, adoration, praise, and reverence of men, heaven and its citizens are well pleased. Not undeservedly has the chorus of the Muses been sent down from the Supreme God into the company of men, so that the material world should not seem to be without order or lacking the sweetness of harmony. Indeed, the sole Father of all sent down the Muses so that he might be honored by the songs and praises of men, and that praise should not be lacking in heaven or the sweetness of harmony upon earth. And therefore a very few people endowed with a pure mind have been allotted the sacred trust of contemplating heaven. But there are those who from the confusion of arising from their twofold nature have sunk back into the lower mind because of the weight of their own body. Such have been appointed to manage the elements and things associated with this lower world. Man then is a creature, but I do not say that he is inferior because he is in part mortal. Rather, on that account, he is better adapted and more effectual for his specific purpose. For this, his stature seems rather to have been increased by his mortality. Indeed, since he would not have been able to sustain both realms had he not been formed from the substance of both. He was so formed that he could care for the things of the earth and also love the divine.